What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the Adventure Outpost. Another weekend has come and gone, and it is once again time to talk box office numbers. It was another slow weekend here at the box office. September is going to be one that is just going to be talked about in the bottom tier. We have only grossed for this weekend $33 million in the top 10 grosses. I think if you collect everything, I think it was somewhere closer to 40. But for our top 10 grosses for the weekend of 9/9 to 9/11, we did 33,238,207, which is down 21.5% from last weekend, which makes sense considering last weekend was National Cinema Day. We had $3 movies on Saturday, so it makes sense that we would have this sharp drop-off. You're going to see the sharp drop-off in a lot of movies from this week simply because we didn't have $3 movies this weekend, so it was just insanely dead. You had a lot of kids going back to school in much of the Northeast and around the coast, with the exception of the South, which was back in August. So this is just a perfect storm of just a really quiet weekend. At my theater, they were saying that this was going to be the slowest weekend of 2022. And while we didn't do too bad, we had a few new movies that managed to surprise us. It still felt like one of the most dead weekends that we've had at the theater in a long time. It was insanely dead at my theater. It was just an absolute ghost town. But somehow we still managed to do some business at the box office. So we're going to break it all down right here next. But before we dive into all those good numbers, if you can, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, drop a comment down below. Let's keep this rhythm going so we can enjoy some more content in the future. We had two new wide releases for this weekend, and they both managed to take the 1 and 2 position. Something I did not see coming this weekend, especially since I only knew about one of these movies actually being a wide release. I was a little surprised to see the number 2 movie being where it is, but hey, that's just the fucking coolness of the box office. You never know what's gonna hit where. But let's dive right into those numbers right now. In the top place, Barbarian, the new wide release for the weekend, the horror movie that is taking everyone's breath away right now. I actually caught it this past Saturday as well, and it was a wild ride. I don't want to say too much about it. If you haven't seen it, it's one of those movies that you should just go out and experience and know as little as possible. I will say it is wildly different than I thought it was going to be. The trailers really did not do that movie justice and really did not do the marketing justice, which I guess makes sense when you look at the box office number. Not a terrible number for a new movie, especially one that probably didn't cost a lot to make, but still nothing too impressive. Barbarian takes our number 1 spot here with a haul of $10 million. I'm sure that movie was super cheap to make, so I'm sure they're going to make their budget back. I guess it depends and see how it does week to week now, if it's able to just keep slowly racking up some money for the rest of the month, but I don't think it will. I think this might be one that's going to be one and done and disappear into the ether, especially with a few more loaded movies coming out for the rest of September, especially horror-wise. Next week we have Pearl, which is the prequel to X. We have Smile at the end of the month. You got Halloween Ends at the beginning of next month. There's just a lot of horror stuff coming out right now that I think is going to eat into this one. I think this one that might do well simply because you're getting some positive word of mouth right now, getting people to go, but I don't think it's going to have any long-term growth. So this is probably as good as they're going to hope for right now, but we'll have to wait and see what happens next week and the weeks to come and see what happens with Barbarian. The number 2 spot, though, is very interesting. It is Brahmastra Part 1 Shiva, a Hindi movie, is also debuted at the box office, opened with $4.4 million. I didn't even know that this movie existed. Usually at my theater, we get the Hindi movies too, and then they never do any business, so they stopped giving them to us. And of course, right as they stopped giving them to us, we get another banger like this, which looks like a beautiful spiritual successor to RRR. If you haven't seen that movie, you're absolutely doing yourself a disservice. You should go onto Netflix right now and watch that, because Bollywood's putting out some goddamn hits right now. These movies are just absolutely entertaining. They are so ludicrously fun. They must be seen to be believed. This looks like another one just like that. And I'm mad we didn't get it at my theater. I would have loved to have watched all 3 epic hours of that movie on the big screen. But I'll wait. Hopefully it pops up on Netflix. I'll be able to check it out. But rounding out the rest of the top 5, we have in number 3, Bullet Train in its 6th week, dropping 43.8%. I know that looks like a big drop, but that is simply because last week with $3 movies, it had such a sharp uptick that, of course, it's going to have a nice downtick as we hit these more slower weeks again. But it took in a haul of $3.25 million, bringing its total domestic haul to $92 million, inching very close to that $100 million domestic total. Come on, baby. We got that last little bit. Let's get there for Bullet Train. Let's get it to $100 million. Let's let it hit blockbuster status. It'll be our last summer movie to hit $100 million. It'll be a great summer for us if we would have that many movies that had hit $100 million. You would have had Doctor Strange, Top Gun, Jurassic World, Lightyear, Elvis, The Black Phone, Minions, Thor, Nope, and now Bullet Train. 10 movies after this COVID pandemic that now we're going to hit a summer. We have 10 movies grossing domestically over $100 million. That is epic. With one of those movies grossing over $700 million. That would be a huge, huge win for our box office. So please, world, go out. If you haven't seen Bullet Train, go check it out. Let's make that last $8 million happen. Then we have into number 4th place, the movie that just will never fucking quit. We have Top Gun Maverick in its 16th week, dropping 47.3%, bringing in $3.1 million, taking its total domestic haul to $705 million. This movie is just an absolute machine. We're going to talk more about Top Gun later, so we're not going to dive too much into it, but we missed the numbers last week because it was Labor Day and there was so much shit going on. I just didn't have a chance to get around to doing it, but a huge win to be passing Black Panther, to now be sitting at number 5 domestically. I don't know if it has anything left in it to pass number 4, which I think was Avatar with like 760 million. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, obviously I would never put it past Top Gun to do Top Gun things, but I think it might has hit its peak in its domestic life, but still such a fucking impressive run for this movie. Just a once in a lifetime thing, but we'll talk more about Top Gun later. Rounding out the top 5, we have DC League of Super Pets in its 7th week, dropping 43.7%, taking in $2.8 million for a total domestic haul of $85 million. Now, I would love for this one to get to $100 million also, because then that would give us 11 movies from the summer that hit $100 million, but I don't think this one's going to have the mustard. This movie is pretty much gone from most theaters. I think it has pretty much done all it's going to do. It maybe get to 90, but I don't see it having another 15 million in the tank to get to 100 million. In 6th place, we have The Invitation in its 3rd week, dropping 46.3%, taking in $2.6 million for a total domestic haul of $18 million. This is another movie. I saw this movie over Labor Day weekend. Obviously, we didn't get a chance to talk about it because we didn't do numbers last week. This movie was rough. I am amazed and astounded that it's made what it has made. Obviously, PG-13 horror movies, so you're going to get some kids that cannot get into the R-rated movies that are going to go and check that out. But dear God, this movie was just absolutely brutal. Just boring, just a schlock. And not the good schlock. It just bad schlock that you're just sitting through. The movie takes forever to get going. For a movie that's only an hour and 40 minutes, they really make you feel every fucking minute of it. And it's all just a lead up to an absolutely silly finish. It's just a bizarre movie. I can't imagine. I would say this time next week, I would imagine this movie, we're going to be saying goodbye to it on the top 10. And honestly, get out of there. You got no business being in here. In number 7th place is another new movie. Life Mark is another movie I've never even heard of. It's from Fathom Events, so I'm wondering if it's not even like a new movie, if it's just something older or something that they put out. But I mean, it looks new, and I don't know, it just looks silly. But it brought in $2.2 million. It's a movie I've never even heard of, but good for you. But also, you're opening your new week, you're in 7th place. Never a spot you want to be. We talked about it for 3,000 Years of Longing. We talked about it for Easter Sunday. 7th place, you never want to open there, so sorry, buddy. Taking it 8th is Beast in its 4th week, dropping 55.3%, taking in $1.8 million for a total domestic haul of $29 million, inching closer to that 30 million mark. Although I'm sure this movie cost a sweet little pretty penny, so God knows what they had to make their budget back. But poor Idris Elba, man, dropping 2 hits in August. I enjoyed both movies, and neither movies look like they cut the mustard. Sorry, buddy, but just remember, money don't mean shit. Box office don't mean shit in the long run. Those movies might end up going on to be classics. Beast will absolutely be a nice little cult creature feature classic to watch later on down the line for people. I don't know about 3,000 Years of Longing. That one might be a little bit more of a tough sell, but Beast for sure will be a movie that people will catch on home video and really enjoy. Rounding us out in 9th place is Minions Rise of Gru, still clinging into the top 10 in its 11th week, dropping 53%, taking in $1.6 million for a total domestic haul of $362 million. This movie is a super juggernaut for them. They must be super happy over there over Universal. I was about to say Walt Disney, and ain't that, it's Universal. Just an absolute win for them. them. And I'm sure with this release, the Minions will have no sign of slowing down. I'm sure we're going to get Despicable Me 4 soon. I'm sure we'll get another Minion soon. And, you know, those bastards aren't going anywhere. And rounding us out in the last top 10, at number 10, we have Spider-Man No Way Home, the re-release in its second week, dropping 75.9%. But just remember, that's because we had $3 movie day last week. That one's a little bit higher than some of the other ones, simply because it looks like outside of $3 movie day, I don't really see any need for people to go catch that when they can just watch it on Disney Plus, or they probably own it at this point. This is not really a movie that outside of $3 movies, you're really going to want to spend another $15 to go see again in theaters when you can just watch it at home and just plug in the deleted scenes. There's just no reason to it. So this movie dropping off a lot more than the other ones. I'm sure by next week, nobody's even going to have it anymore. But it pulls in $1.3 million to bring in its re-release $8 million, tacked on to its already astronomical amount of money that it made domestically. I think it was in the $800 million range, and tacking on to the worldwide gross of like $1.9 billion. That movie was an absolute juggernaut. So it's adding almost $9 million onto its total. Now we're going to turn and see what we have in our worldwide for the year of 2022. Now, an actual shakeup for once in the 2020. I didn't think that we would be doing anything right now. I thought we'd just be adding numbers up, that more movies would be making more money. Maybe Thor might have passed the Batman, but I did not think we'd have a new movie dropping in here, but we did. China or Japan, I don't know who it was, but they just dropped a heater out of nowhere that is banged right up onto the top 10, and we're going to take a look at it right now. So here we have our top 10 worldwide. For the most part, nothing has changed. You've got Top Gun Maverick making $1.4 billion. I was about to say million. I can't do talking right now because it's always Sunday night and my brain just turns off on Sunday night. But Top Gun taking in $1.4 billion. Jurassic World Dominion inching so close. Does it have that last $2 million to break into the $1 billion club? That remains to be seen. It's already on home video here in America. I don't know about elsewhere, but this is a movie you can just own at home. So I don't know if it has that last $2 million. Hopefully somewhere they can pull it out and we can get another $1 billion movie in the bucket, but that remains to be seen. In third place still, Doctor Strange with $955 million. Minions: The Rise of Gru breaks 900, making $903 million. I was about to say billion for that one. Motherfucker, I can't talk. $903 million. Does that one have another like $100 million in it to get itself to $1 billion? I don't know about that. I think that movie's finally starting to lose some steam, but who knows? The Minions have also been chugging along this summer, so maybe they might do it. They might pull it out of their ass. The Batman clings to life in that fifth spot with $770 million too. Thor coming up right behind it. I actually don't think Thor, once upon a time I thought it was a sure bet that at some point Thor was going to pass the Batman, but I don't think so anymore. Thor has dropped off the face of the earth at a lot of theaters, and Thor and Minions were like neck and neck for a while. Like Thor was just like maybe 30 million behind Minions, and they were just chugging along week to week, and then suddenly now Minions just fucking took off, leaving Thor in the dust, and now Thor doesn't even look like it's going to pass the Batman. Like, it's not in many theaters anymore. I don't really see it playing anywhere. I don't see people talking about it anywhere anymore. I don't think this one's going to have that last little bit it needs to pass the Batman, so that might be the positioning for Thor Love and Thunder at $756 million. Still nothing to sneeze at. That's a solid haul there, but I wonder if you had just made Thor with Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel like that's $1 billion movie right there, and instead you're settling for $700 million. So interesting thoughts to think about. Next up, still with holding strong, Watergate Bridge, $626 million, but the new movie to finally drop into the top 10 worldwide, and it comes in the, what do we got, 10, 9, 8, in the 8th spot already. I can't even count or do anything, as you can see from this right now. In the 8th spot already, Moon Man, taking in $438 million, knocking out Uncharted. Uncharted, it was a nice run. You were here for a while, since February. I don't know how many weeks that is, but you were here for a good little while. I hope you enjoyed your time here in the top 10. We salute you. And then rounding us off in the last two spots, still with no change, you've got, well, Fantastic Beasts drops down to number 9 now with 405, and Sonic is clinging and holding on to dear life in the 10th spot with $401 million. Enjoy it while you can, Sonic. You're next on the chopping block, and something's coming gunning for you. Next, we looked at the top 10 domestic. Not much of change here. Everything's still pretty much the same. It's just adding on some titles. You got Top Gun Maverick still in #1 spot with $705 million. Doctor Strange 2 at $411. Jurassic World Dominion taking in $375. You've got The Batman with $369. Minions: The Rise of Gru at $362. Interesting that domestically Minions still trails behind The Batman, but it looks like it may overtake it shortly. I guess it depends to see how much American audiences still have left in the tank for the Minions. Coming in right behind that is Thor: Love and Thunder, $342. Then you've got Sonic the Hedgehog with $190, Elvis with $150, Uncharted still hanging on domestically at least with $148, and then right behind that, rounding out our top 10, is Nope with $122 million. Now, before we look at our last chart and talk a little bit more about the majesty of Top Gun Maverick, we like to take a look at our fallen heroes. We already said salute to Uncharted in the top 10 for highest worldwide grosses, but now we're going to take a look and say salute to our three guys who are gone but not forgotten from the top 10 for the weekend. We have lost Jaws, who spent 1 week on the charts. We lost Dragon Ball Superhero, which spent 3 weeks on the chart. And Thor: Love and Thunder bows out of the top 10 after 9 weeks on the chart. We salute you all, fallen heroes. God bless you for your domestic hauls, your worldwide hauls, and all the money that you made here at the box office. Godspeed in the physical media realm. And last, before we go, we're going to take one more look here at Top Gun Maverick. So much time I feel like has been spent talking about how well this movie is doing domestically, that it is just cranking up the domestic charts, and it made it all the way up to the 5th spot, now trailing behind Avatar. We don't think it has the goods. We think it's going to finish here in 5th place. But while we were spending so much time talking domestically, I feel like we lost track of it making worldwide, because since most movies aren't going to reach 2 billion, you never really think to look at the worldwide highest grossing charts. But we really should, because Top Gun quietly snuck its way all the way up there, and it is currently sitting just outside of the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time. That is an insane feat for this movie to do. It is just an absolute spectacle. I still remember, I've been beating it into the ground talking about it, but I just remember hoping upon hope, seeing this trailer, waiting for this movie to come out, that it would just be good, that it would make some money, that it wouldn't burn out amongst all the other movies coming out. And not only did it not do that and soar into the stratosphere, but it has made a gargantuan and unheard of amount of money for a movie like that. And Top Gun right now sits at the number 11th spot, just outside of the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time. Let's take a look at this chart. Obviously, we have right at the top, you've got Avatar with $2.8 billion. Right behind it, Avengers Endgame with 2.7. Disney's just going to volley re-releases back and forth on those two bitches till the end of time. Right behind that, number 3, James Cameron with his second movie. We got Titanic with $2.1 billion. I wonder if James Cameron is about to pull a triple right now, and he's going to get a hat trick, and he's going to put Avatar 2 in that talking also. I literally cannot speak or formulate like complex sentences right now. I wonder, will The Way of Water be able to reach up here, and will James Cameron once again continue to be the most insane filmmaker of all time, just crushing box office numbers like only he knows? I cannot wait to December to find out. Coming in behind Titanic, you've got Star Wars: The Force Awakens with $2.068 billion. You've got Avengers: Infinity War behind that with $2.048 billion. That is it for our $2 billion hauls. Only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies have grossed over $2 billion. That is still an insane feat. I remember when no movies have grossed over $2 billion, and then suddenly Titanic had grossed over $2 billion, and Avatar had grossed over $2 billion, and James Cameron was just the king of the box office. And then suddenly Star Wars: The Force Awakens came out and was like, hi, I'd like to join this party. And then the Avengers movies were like, hey, don't forget about us because we're Disney. Disney has all 5 movies are now owned by Disney. The 5 movies that have grossed $2 billion are all owned by Disney now. That is absolutely fucking absurd. And we might have a 6th one on the list depending on how Avatar does. It is just an insane time to be watching these box office numbers. I fucking love it. It's why I love watching shit like this, because it's just, the symmetry is just so interesting. Taking right underneath Avengers Infinity War just missing out on the $2 billion haul. You have Spider-Man No Way Home with $1.9 billion. Insane that we did that during the height of Omicron. Just goes to show that if there's a movie out there that people want to see, we don't give a fuck about COVID. We'll go see it. Right behind that, Jurassic World with $1.6 billion. You've got The Lion King remake 2019 somehow made $1.6 billion. You fucking shills. The Avengers right behind that with $1.5 billion. And rounding out the top 10 is Furious 7 with $1.516 billion. And sitting just outside of the top 10 spot in number 11 is Top Gun with $1.453 billion. Does it have that last little bit in it to get into the top 10 and pass Furious 7? I don't know. It's a bit of a little bit more to go through, but I think it can do it. I think there's nothing else still really coming out that's putting any a fight. And this movie's still pulling in at a few $1 million a week. And I don't think this movie's going anywhere, at least until the end of September. So I think this movie might have in it to do one last major feat, and that is get into the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time. That would be wonderful company for all the rest of these movies to have Top Gun at the top of that heap at number 10. That would be truly astounding. But that'll do it for all of us here at the Outpost today. I hope you've enjoyed learning this little bit of numbers with me. It's a very interesting time to be watching these numbers. It's going to be a very epic fall. We've got a few new releases this week, mostly streaming stuff. Which I'm not even going into because I can't even remember how many of them there are. But I think we have 3 wide releases this weekend. We've got Pearl, the prequel to X. We've got The Woman King, Viola Davis taking on the European colonialists. And I believe we have the detective movie See How They Run coming out with Saoirse Ronan and Sam Rockwell. So we have a bevy of hits to be coming out this weekend for all of you to ignore and not go see. But I hope you do go out and see some movies this weekend. There's some good stuff coming out. All these movies deserve to get some money. Definitely, the big one for me this weekend is The Woman King. I'm super excited for that movie. I plan on seeing all 3 of these movies, but obviously The Woman King is the one that I am most excited to see. That is the one I'm going to see first. Then I'll probably check out See How They Run and then finish it out with the prequel to X, Pearl, and we'll take it from there. But that'll be for next week, where we'll join in and we'll see just how those numbers put up, see if you guys actually went to the theater. But that is for next week. Until the next time, you have been you, I have been me. These are the movies that we love so much. And until next time, adventure on.